Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. I'm Kat and this is Catadactyl. So today is part one of my January wrap-up. I have actually read quite a bit this month and I'm already up almost to 15 books. So I've decided to split it. So this is going to be part one and it is going to cover 7 different books that I read starting in the beginning of January. Yeah, so without further ado, let's go ahead and get right on into it. So the first book I read this year was Choose Me by Delmire Hart. And this is an alpha omega fantasy romance, and it was exactly what I needed at that time. So we follow Toru, who has powers that involve ice. He joins an army illegally to help them buffer a city that is going to be under attack. But when he realizes that the strategy has changed, he goes to sacrifice himself so that the people can get away. And he is soon captured by the enemy and delivered into the enemy realm. And he is gifted to Kessler, who is the alpha, one of the alphas of the realm. This book was exactly what I needed at that time. I read it in a layover in Shanghai, China, which if you've ever been to Shanghai, China, there is no Wi-Fi there, and also I couldn't edit my videos for some reason, so I was just stuck reading, and I was kind of actually a little stressed by the whole thing, so I just really wanted something that I didn't have to pay too much attention to the plot, and that would be really fun and just give me good relaxing feelings. So it totally was that. Overall I give it 3 stars. There wasn't any major character development and the plot wasn't too developed either. It was mostly an alpha omega romance. Alpha omega romance is a different sort of subgenre of romance, especially fantasy romance, where there's a whole society and usually there's alpha, beta, and omega, and that is the kind of person that they are. They are born to be. You can't choose what you are either one of those 3 things, and that largely decides your role in the hierarchy of society. This one was just, like I said, a really light, quick read, so if you're looking for something or you like alpha omega romance, then I would recommend it. It was light and fluffy and perfect for what I needed. Okay, so my second read was The Cruel Prince by Holly Black, and I'm gonna go ahead and put this down because it's gonna mess with my white balance. But if you would like to see more of the cover and more of an in-depth analysis instead of what I'm just going to say now, I actually do have a spoiler-free review up, and I will leave the link down below if you'd like to see that. In The Cruel Prince, we follow Jude, who, when we first are introduced, she is living with her family in the human realm. So when she is 7 years old, Jude, along with her twin sister and her older sister, witness their parents being murdered. They are then basically dragged to the fairy realm where they are going to be raised. Fast forward a bit, and Jude is now living in a society where fairies largely find humans disgusting or vile or less than, and it is largely due to human mortality, because the fae in this world are immortal unless something causes them to die. So they are viewed as a lower peg in society, and all Jude wants to do is fit in and prove her worth. But there are many things impeding her progress. Chief most among them is the darkest prince of them all, Carden. He causes endless grief for Jude and is really kind of just treats her abominably and kind of leads the peers in mocking her and making things really dangerous for her and also her sister. And one of the things that I love most about Holly Black as a writer is that she has really, really great inclusion of like a vast array of character types, as well as the ability to write really dark elements in and make the stakes real. So with fantasy books, a lot of the time I am sure that the author won't kill off a character, or they won't go down that dark path, or something will keep the characters safe. Like there's an unwritten rule that all your favorite characters won't die. However, Holly Black does not play by those rules, and she lets you know very quickly that the stakes are very high and very real, and there was one scene in particular that just made me fall back in love with Holly Black. I haven't read Holly Black in a while, and this book really reminded me why I used to love Holly Black as a dark fae writer. So if you haven't read it, I mean, BookTube has been abuzz with how great the book is, so I really do recommend it. I gave it 4 stars overall, and I can't wait to see what happens in the next book. Okay, so the next book I picked up and read was Goodbye Things by Fumio Sasaki. He is a blogger, and he writes about his life and minimalism in Japan. So actually, this book contains quite a few images of Sasaki's own apartment, how he went from maximalist to minimalist, so this is a great example. So he used to have things stored all in his apartment, just towering, kind of a hoarder, and now he is an absolute minimalist, and he really believes in clean spaces and minimal items. Fumio goes through the way in which he has decided to live his life involving minimalism, largely getting rid of all the extraneous items that you don't need in your life, really paring down to the essentials. And while I do think that it brings up a lot of good ideas, overall I gave it 2.5 stars because of the lack of backup for what he said, and also I think some of the things that he has said have been said more eloquently by others. So minimalism is something that is really near and dear to me. I have been largely going through a minimalist process in my own life, and in the next coming months I'm planning to do a series on minimalism, especially in Japan, and other Japanese elements including ikigai and Mana no Aware, and different things about Japanese culture that perhaps haven't exactly percolated to the public quite as well as like Marie Kondo's tidying up, for instance. Yeah, so anyway, huge tangent, but overall I give the book 2.5 stars. If you're gonna read a book on minimalism, I would recommend a few others first, so I will leave some minimalism links down below if that's something you're interested in. And let's move on to the next book. Okay, so the next book I'm going to talk about is Heels Over Head by Elyse Springer. So the reason why I'm so happy to talk about this book is that it was so cute, oh my god, and I heard about it from Gabby Reads. She has excellent queer book recommendations, so if you haven't heard of her, or you're not watching her, or you haven't seen any of her LGBT or queer recommendation videos, I will leave them linked down below. Go check her out. Anyway, Heels Over Head follows a diver, like a springboard diver, not a scuba diver, named Jeremy, and Jeremy is training for the Olympics, and the only thing he cares about is diving. He breathes it, he lives it, all he can think about is diving. Like, even his diet and his exercise regimen is so he can be a better diver. Now enter Brandon, who is an amazing raw diver, but he hasn't been diving for that long. Jeremy's coach decides to bring Brandon in, and immediately there is tension between Jeremy and Brandon because Brandon is flirty, he's fun, and he's not as serious about diving. It's just a fun time for him, and he is open and gay and proud about it. So he decides to annoy Jeremy and get under his skin and try to get Jeremy to enjoy diving, not just be solely focused on it as a chore. So this book was so amazing, and oh my god, it gave me all the feels. I'm just so happy that I read this book. Like, Gabby Reads, thank you so much for recommending it. And I think that the way it is paced and the way that the characters are developed sets this type of story apart from just a regular romance. So I would say a regular romance for me is one that doesn't focus as heavily on character development or the plot. It's mostly just we want to see these two characters in every scene together as much as possible so that there's sexual tension and then they eventually get together. Whereas I think books that are the next level up from that are where the characters themselves are developed to the point where they don't have to be together on every page, and actually a lot of their strength comes from developing solely as characters, and it makes them stronger also together. So Heels Over Head by Elyse Springer was so amazing. Yeah, I just really can't get over it. I can't recommend it enough. I gave it 4 stars overall. I really enjoyed it, and if you are looking for a queer romance recommendation, this is probably the one I would recommend so far this year. It's at the very top of my list. So Heels Over Head, check it out. So following on the end of Heels Over Head, I decided to read another one recommended by Gabby Reads because I just had such a good experience with Heels Over Head that I was hoping to carry that feeling through and read another thing that I would be like, oh my god, this is the best. So I read Him by Sarina Bowen and Elle Kennedy. And this follows 2 main characters who play ice hockey. And in their childhood, when they're at summer camp together, something happens, and then one of them stops talking to the other one completely, and their friendship is cut off. Fast forward to now, and the hockey championships are coming up, and they must face each other again. And the tagline for this book is, "They don't play for the same team, or do they?" Which I think is like a super cute, clever tagline. I'm here for it. But largely, this book was, I think, not as serious of an exploration of each of the characters as Heels Over Head was. I mean, they're not by the same author at all, but this one was more a fast-paced romance, and then it also moves to a summer camp, and it becomes less about hockey and more about like summer camp revisited, summer camp romance revisited, which is fine. That's just not exactly what I was hoping for. So overall, I gave this book 3.5 stars, I think, because I wanted the time spent on developing the characters, and I wanted to really, really see them go through so many obstacles, and just like there was like one obstacle. So it's not that I don't recommend this book, but it's that I think if you're gonna read one, like a queer romance, I would read Heels Over Head because I'm crazy about it. Also, if you guys have any queer romances, please let me know down below, because I love them so much. Okay, so the next book I read was Before Adam by Jack London. Basically, Jack London writes as if a teenage boy is having the dreams of his mid-Pleistocene ancestor. It's kind of the exact moment where humans start to develop tools and fire and ways of communication, and it's right at the cusp of it. So Big Tooth himself doesn't have, you know, speaking power yet or knowledge of tools yet, but those things are developing around him, and it tracks his life, and it's a pretty short little book, but I found it very intriguing. I gave it 3.5 stars because I love the style of writing Jack London has, and I found it intriguing, but it is just what would happen if you went back to that cusp of time. Alright, and the next book I picked up is The Claiming of Sleeping Beauty by Anne Rice, writing as A.N. Roquelaure. So this one is a Sleeping Beauty retelling with a BDSM kind of lean, and I had been wanting to read this trilogy for so long, and I found it in our used bookstore in Japan of all places, and like, side note, I want to meet whoever was reading it and like put it there, because it means that they're either a traveler from abroad or like a fellow teacher living around here or like a scientist, and I just want to know who's reading Sleeping Beauty BDSM by Anne Rice. I just want to know. We'd probably be friends. So when I first picked this book up, I was like, yes, I cannot wait, I'm so excited. I do love erotica, and I also really like Anne Rice. The Vampire Lestat was lit. And then I should have just read the first chapter. I should have just read the first chapter in the store, and I would have not bought it, because yeah, if you're thinking that I was gonna be like, this was great, it was not. It's a DNF, unfortunately. So within the first, I don't know, 5 pages, the prince shows up, and how he wakes her up is by raping her and then kissing her. So pretty much it's unsalvageable for me after that. That's not okay, and why? Yeah, I was just extremely confused and like let down, and I wish someone online had mentioned that like it starts out with rape, because then I would have been like, no thank you, and would have saved my $7. Yeah, so this is a DNF for me. I know that a lot of people like it, and that's totally fine. You do you. I just really can't. So then after that, I wanted to read a book that I thought would really pull me away from that disappointment and would really just make me so happy. So I picked up Beast Made of Night by Tochi Onyebuchi. Yeah. I was so excited to read this book for so long, and I got it for Christmas, a Christmas gift from my mom, so I'm so thankful. Thank you, Mom. And I was so excited to read this book. So we are in a city called Kos, where purity is basically the best thing that you can be, and to be pure, you need to have your sins expunged. And how do you have them expunged? You have the sins pulled out of you by mages, and then the sins turn into sin beast, which are then eaten by Aki. And when we enter this, one of the best Aki in the city, named Taj, is called in to eat the sin beast of one of the royal family members. Whatever sin he eats is etched then upon his skin as a tattoo and a living memory. So a lot of the Aki end up going crazy because whatever memories they keep then drive them to insanity, or their body can't take it anymore, or they just can't take that much sin being heaped upon their shoulders. The book goes from there. This book, I thought that so many elements were really interesting. I'm not sure of the execution, honestly. I think that maybe there were just too many different elements that were thrown in there. Like, there were some things about cyborg body parts that were like never explained. There were also like mythos and back history that were just like peppered in there but also not explained for the entire book. So the plot was also very meandering. Like, it seemed like the plot was going in like a linear fashion, and then there would just be divots where we go on like side quests or side adventures that have seemingly no relevance to what was happening. Or also the main character, I felt like, wasn't focusing on things that should be important, and instead was focusing like serious shit is going down in the city. And I mean, like, people are gonna die. That level of seriousness. And then he's like, why doesn't that girl like me? And I'm just like, facepalm, facepalm, facepalm. Oh my god, like, come on. So, I don't know. Like, yes, there is gonna be a second book. There has to be a second book. But I don't know, man. I love some parts of it, and I'm really here for it, and I'm so excited about it. But like, some of the execution and like the plot and like just some of the pacing, I'm just like, oh no! So yeah, I'm torn. I give it 3.5 stars, I think, because I'm just torn. I'm so honestly torn. I probably will read the second one just because the world is really, really insanely cool. But I hope that some of the execution or writing style or something along those lines improves between now and then. That would be super amazing. Yeah, so that finishes up my first part of January. Have you read any of these? And what did you think of them? Or what are you guys currently reading as well? I know that in February I'm planning to read for Black History Month as well as Femme Lit. So look for that. I have already sent out in order, and I'm waiting for them to come. They're kind of late right now. They haven't come yet. I'm really sad because I ordered from the UK and it's been snowing like crazy everywhere, so I think they're a bit backlogged. But I hope they get here soon so that I can do my February TBR books and do some recommendations for you guys. Yeah, so that wraps up this video. If you liked it, please give me a thumbs up or hit the subscribe button. It would really mean a lot. And I will chat to you guys later. Toodles! Bye!